Ghost Stories of a Librarian. The Dungarvon Whooper. A real Canadian ghost story. The Dungarvon River runs through central New Brunswick. It is a branch of the Renews and is known for salmon and trout, and for something less appetizing. For if you should walk the banks of this river at the fall of darkness, you will experience the peace of the nearby woods being annihilated by the most outlandish phantasmagoria of sound, a series of heart-stopping cries and bellows, which is blamed on an apparition called the Dungarvon Whooper. But who, or what, is the Dungarvon Whooper? Here is one story. Back in the late 1860s, the Dungarvon was the site of a logging camp, and one cold winter Sunday, when the snow lay on the ground, two men went out hunting. One was an Irish logger by name of Riley, a shifty character whose surface charm camouflaged an avaricious heart, and who had totally bamboozled the second man, a Yankee cook known only to history as Jimmy, a happy-go-lucky and, unfortunately for him, too trusting soul. Riley invited Jimmy to go hunting rabbits out in the snowy woods. As he had heard the young mulligan mixer, that's lumberjack lingo for cook, wore a money belt containing all his winter's savings, which amounted to almost $200, or about $4,000 in 2019 money. Riley kept up a running commentary until the pair were deep into the forest and far from camp. And then he asked, oh, so casually, so easily, I suppose you'll be heading back to the States someday. Damn right, swore Jimmy, as soon as I have enough money to get married. And have you been able to save any money? You bet, Jimmy said. I should have enough to be able to go home pretty doggone soon. Riley tried to appear disinterested as he said, the office keep the money for you? Nope, Jimmy answered, patting his waist. Money belt? Asked Riley. Jimmy nodded. And you wear it at all times? Jimmy nodded again. And Riley shot him right between the eyes. Riley buried the dead doe boxer in a snowdrift, reckoning on hungry animals to cover up all traces of his crime. But on examining the money belt, he found the Yankee stash consisted of a mere $30. Where's the rest of it? He yelled, stamping his feet in anger. Where's the bloody rest of it? Cursing, Riley went back to camp, as if nothing had happened. When questioned about Jimmy's disappearance, he said the younger man had suddenly decided to go back to the Boston States. He's counting the ties. Seems like he couldn't stand being separated from his sweetheart no more. Riley laughed cynically. No one gave it a thought. Men left camp without explanation all the time. Lumberjacks were independent cusses. Still, it was funny. He left his few possessions behind. Jimmy was never found. Riley had gotten away with murder. After a few days, he too left camp. But soon after dark, the quiet woods around the Dungarvon and the nearby logging camp were bedeviled by shrill and appalling screams, as if from a soul in anguish. Even the roughest timber beasts refused to stay in the camp, and teamsters wouldn't haul to it. Eventually it closed, even though the area was exorcised by a Catholic priest. But money and timber can overcome evil spirits, and eventually dictated that the camp be reopened. Extra pay, danger pay, was used to entice the loggers back to the Dungarvon. And amongst them was Riley. The intervening years had not been kind to Riley. The $30 of blood money had soon been swallowed by gambling and whiskey, and despite his attempts at ingratiating himself, he found jobs hard to come by. There was just something about Riley that other men instinctively disliked, and they avoided him when they could. The first day in the bush, the Lumberjacks were nervous. Not that they ever would have admitted to such a human emotion. There was something intangible in the still forest air, a presence which seemed to watch them while they worked, which watched one man in particular. It was after chow, when the men were congregated in the bunkhouse, that it began, the most atrocious and sustained cacophony of shrieks the men had ever heard. The noise was intense and endless. The men lay cowering on their bunks. After an hour of the most heart-rending cries and sobs, a young Canuck broke the silence and asked Riley, "You hear that? What is it?" It's only the wind," Riley mumbled. The wind?" the Canuck sputtered. "Why, it's something human, something alive." "It ain't human," Riley snapped. "It may be a big cat, a puma." No one else spoke. They all knew pumas could scream like a woman in agony, but no one had ever heard one cry out for an entire hour. And then the noise stopped. Dead. The silence was as unnerving as the previous bedlam. And then a thin, ethereal voice, as insubstantial as the wind, was heard to call, "Riley, Riley, Riley." "You hear that?" the Canuck asked. "I don't hear nothing," Riley grumbled. "It's calling your name, man." Riley sprang from his cot to stand over the young Canuck and repeated, "I don't hear nothing." "Riley." By now, many of the loggers were hollering that they could all hear that the thing outside was indeed calling for Riley. Riley staggered forward and threw open the door and bawled, "God damn you! God damn you to hell! Shut up! For Christ's sake, shut up!" "You shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain," the Canuck said. So Riley told him that he too could burn in hell. And then there was someone, or something, standing in the doorway. Some saw a creature in murky brown, with horns and cloven hoofs, while others saw a wraith-like figure, as misty as smoke in the forest. But still others saw an animated corpse, with rotting, claw-like arms, its gross belly distended by putrescent gases. But the worst was the face, or what was left of it. The animals had eaten its eyes, most of the nose, the ears, and in the middle of the skull-like forehead was the reddish puckered mark of a bullet hole. The dead thing opened its mouth in a rictus of a smile, and then croaked, "Riley, Riley," its exhalations filling the room with an infernal stench. "Stay away from me! You stay away from me, goddamn you!" Riley screeched in mortal terror. "Riley," the thing wheezed. "Keep off, goddamn you! I killed you once and I'll kill you again!" he roared, pulling out his pistol. "Stay back or I'll shoot!" "Riley!" The Irishman fired. There was a muffled explosion, followed by the splattering of blood on walls and floor and men. Riley stood like a statue, or the remains of a statue. His hand was gone, and great gouts of blood spurted from the shattered wrist. The corpse bounded into the room in a series of hops and jerks, touched its victim, and just as quickly vanished with him through the open doorway and out into the all-encompassing darkness. But the loggers could still hear him. "Help me! Help me! Help!" And then all that was left of Riley were the crumpled remains of a pistol and a trail of gore leading to the still open door. Riley was reported missing in the woods, but the Lumberjacks covered up the details. After all, who would believe them? As it was, those who heard references to a brown figure with horns claimed the men had actually seen a puma. As if they wouldn't have known a big cat. And so they kept silent. But even today, if you choose to visit the Dungarvon River at dusk and listen to the awful saraband of screams, you might also hear the plaintive moans of a husky Irish voice. "Help me! Help me! Help!" But Riley is beyond help. At least, in this world. Couplet, with apologies to H.P. Lovecraft. In the dark woods of Dungarvon, dead Riley lies dreaming, and that which can never lie makes night hideous with screaming. P.S. It is said if you answer the call of the Dungarvon whooper, it will lure you into the woods, never to be seen again. Or it will try to entice you with the smell of bacon being cooked for breakfast. Well, that would certainly entice me. Your best defense from the Dungarvon whooper is to drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing for more tales of the night floaters and Canadian ghosts.